Good afternoon. This is Anastasia, also known as Lak'weh with Lak'weh of Light, and I'm here for another forest teaching video. This time we're right in my backyard. Um, I'm literally sitting on the stone wall that divides my backyard from the forest behind me, and I wanted to tell you about mother trees today. This might be something you've already known in your heart, something that people from your culture know about, something you may have connected to independently, but here's my take on it. Um, So we'll start at the beginning, which is when I was very young, I felt as though I was raised by the forest. My parents were very generous in moving to a place where there are forests everywhere, and they're like, go play. So I did that all the time. And that is where I received the first leg of my spiritual education. And when I was really little, maybe like 11, there was this huge tree in the back of this forest. I kind of want to say it's a maple tree. I could see it from here. Um, but it was just huge, like 3 or 4 times wider than any other tree in this forest. And I remember I felt very called to this tree. So I would go sit at the bottom of the tree and put my head against it or my third eye, and I would talk to the tree. And I called her the mother tree or the grandmother tree. I was like, this tree is the elder of this forest. It's the biggest, oldest one. So I'm going to come here when I need help. And so if I needed inspiration or a little therapy or something, I would go to that tree and she would help me out. And she told me back then that she's important to the forest because she's connected to all of the other trees. She carries the most wisdom, knowledge, and nutrition. So if there's another tree that needs help, she's like, I will be sending my nutrients to them because I have the deepest grounding. I have the most here. So I help all those other little guys out. Lo and behold, about 12 years later, I read a scientific study that said, oh, actually, this is true. You have these types of elder trees in the forest who take care of the younger trees and they send out nutrition and things like that to them. So she told me this back in the day. She told me some things that I didn't know were scientifically correct, but I later found out that they are. Now, an important part about this kind of tree is that in ancient times, which are really all times, if you think about it, us humans like to be very linear, though. We're kind of silly like that. But like in ancient times, we'll take Slavic peoples, for example, because I'm part Russian. So there were people in Russia back when we kept all of our traditions, and that was our thing before like Christianity came and before we were forced into conversion. We knew such trees, these ancient grandmother trees. A lot of times they were oak trees, birch trees, cedar, these big, beautiful trees that would take care of the forest, and people would bring offerings to them. People would come to them for help. People would pray to them. People would leave offerings. People would come to that tree in holy reverence to communicate with our higher powers because they saw that tree as a connection to the great mystery, the creator God, the heavens. And that was kind of stripped of us when religion was conditioned into us people. And the tradition still remains in our DNA. It's still here. Even if it's dormant for many people, it's always possible to recover that. This is also true for almost any person in any culture. If you go back far enough, there's always been some kind of communication with trees. These days, people call it worship, but it wasn't so much worshiping the tree, it was communicating with the spirit residing within that tree. It was having the proper level of respect and reverence for the being in the great body that tree carried. So much like myself as a child, you can go out and find one of these trees, and if you feel a connection to them, you can communicate with them and they can help you out with things. Like my favorite thing I said was sitting at the bottom of the tree and I would just meditate. I didn't call it meditation, but I would close my eyes and I would breathe deeply and I would feel like somebody was comforting me. Somebody was giving me a hug. Somebody was there with me, like an ancient grandfather or grandmother taking care of me. And The important thing about these trees is that they carry a lot of wisdom and knowledge. They are like a huge funnel or portal to other places. They've come to that place in their evolution that they can carry that energy. So when you communicate with them, you can sometimes get something deeper, different than you get from a young tree. And they're all different like that. Just like people, they're all different. You know, they're at different parts of their life. They have different names, different energetic signatures, different purposes, different jobs to do. But the elder tree is the one I would say you can go to first if you really need help, if you need assistance, if you need guidance, if you just need to talk to somebody and you feel like you've exhausted all of your options, go find that tree. There's one in every forest. The one I used to talk to, she's actually dead now. She's been decaying and breaking down for some years, but there are other trees that have come to take that place because the knowledge from that tree gets passed down and distributed through the forest. So here is also why old growth forests honestly tend to have a deeper level of wisdom and a different kind of mystique, because they've been passing down that information tree to tree to tree for centuries. You might have many elder trees in a forest. This forest is pretty small. This is new growth. Save for that elder tree, probably every tree in here is under 100 years old. I mean, there's one behind me that's like maybe nearing that, like 80 or 90. But we don't have any 150-year-old trees here because people have been logging this land. And then they just kind of let it grow back after some time. But this is why, if you have an experience of going to an old growth forest, you're gonna have a spiritual experience. You're gonna have something happen because of all that wisdom that's contained in those living beings that they're actively nourishing one another with. So you can go there for help. And I would just leave it at that. Just that, plain and simple. You can go to them for help. Communicate with them. See what happens. If you're looking for one-to-one guidance with me, you can book me through the link in the description here. You can go to my website, check out the services I offer, readings and whatnot. And I'm happy to work with you. And I'll see you next time.